All right, here we have Kyle, and this is it's a little blurry, but this is his second video, and we're just going to evaluate his mechanics here so that we have a template to look at and work with for the upcoming season. So the first thing we're going to pay attention to is when he lifts his leg here, we can see that his nose is positioned out front of his leg. What we really want to do is make sure that we're moving the body weight back toward second base a little bit so that we can end up transferring the weight forward toward his target. So the ideal positioning would be for his nose to be back over that leg. So he's basically just going to be taking his stationary body weight and moving it forward. So in this case here, he doesn't even need to lift his leg. Not that big of a deal, especially when we're just, starting as pitchers. Another thing here I'm going to pay attention to is if you watch his hand, it looks like he starts taking the hand out of the glove before he starts moving toward his target. So we can see for sure that the hand is out of the glove and he's only now starting to move towards the target. The training I've had is we want to try and create that handbrake at the same time he starts moving toward the catcher. Another thing that looks to have happened, and we'll see it on his next pitch, but the back leg looks like he's bent it quite a bit. What the danger that imposes will do is it'll put a lot more of his body weight over top of his thigh. And so when he's trying to get a leg drive to go toward his catcher, see if I can make this a little less blurry. When we want to have a drive toward the catcher, he's ending up having some fatigue in his leg. And certainly after he throws a lot of pitches, that'll become more noticeable. His stride will probably become shorter and he'll be looking to make some shortcuts. So that looks like that's going to be potentially a problem. Another thing I noticed here, if we pay attention to his glove hand, he tends to swing it out as opposed to direct it to his target. Now, what'll happen a lot of times when kids or any pitcher swings their arm or their leg out, and their leg I mean by their front leg, it creates an early opening of his trunk. It looks like it might be slightly open by the time he plants, and that's only a problem in the case that he is going to not be able to generate as much power, because we want to be able to open the hips and flex his trunk forward as much as we possibly can. But if it's already open, then that takes away from some of his power. Where's my thing? So once he plants, it looks to me like this knee is starting to collapse inward. So that means he doesn't have great stability over that leg. And that's probably going to result in his torso having some type of an unusual lean of some sort from one side to the other. Another objective we like to try to get is his nose to be over top of the front knee, and that's basically the maximum lean he's going to get, and then the arm comes along for the ride. So that's the most elastic energy we're able to create by doing that. And the last big concern I would say is that if we look at his glove hand after he throws the pitch, he's got body weight that's moving forward. He's using his body to generate his pitch, which is all great. But if he were to get a line drive or somebody's to let go of their bat, that glove hand is not there to try and react and catch the ball. Now, one of the things I like about Kyle is his mechanics are the same, it looks like, for every pitch. So we'll see the same type of things. We'll see him raise his leg but not move his body weight back, his early hand break, the back knee collapse. He swings his glove, he plants, then he starts his trunk flexion, leans forward, releases the ball. One other thing that I wasn't entirely sure about is just looking at the positioning of his hand. It seems like, because you want to have the fingers, the tops of his fingers pointing up toward the sky and the ball and the palm facing towards second base. Here it looks like it's kind of inverted to the side, and what that could end up essentially doing is creating a scenario where he's going to sling the ball a little bit more in a sidearm fashion, and his control is going to be impeded. But he kind of makes a bit of a correction here by the time he gets to his plant foot. I may be reading it wrong, but that's another part of the training I've had that suggested that we wanted to keep an eye on that. So we'll go to what it looks like from behind, and a couple of things will probably be more clear. In particular, the back leg collapse and the hand brake. So let's take a look. So he lifts his leg. His leg is bent and just perfect right there. He starts to straighten it out a bit, still bent, but you can see he's taken the ball out of the glove. So we're taking away some of the fluidity of the mechanics of his swing. Again, it's not a big concern, but it can impede some of the consistency in the pitching motion. Then look at that leg. Look how low he goes. So he's collapsed that back leg a lot. So now all of his body weight is now going to be over that leg. So that's going to take away from some of his ability to generate velocity. And another thing too that kind of indicates it is he's almost sitting down in a sense here. If you take a look at this. Of course, our bodies are designed to handle our body weight in a kinetic fashion that this posture is not going to have. He's got all this body weight up here pointing down in this direction. And of course, it's the thigh that has to end up taking all that weight. So, what happens here? He plants. Doesn't seem to be as inverted as much as I thought it was. However, you can still see that he's not straight up and down with that leg. And then that will just, when we see the curl of his body like that, can explain why his body weight has to be over here in order to, take away all the body weight that is kind of ended up being over here, because his leg is not, or to balance it out, because his leg is not stable. And then we'll see his glove come back behind his body there. And one more. We're going to see all the same things. Leg up, hand brake. And he starts to move forward. He plants. All right. So what I'm going to say for Kyle, I definitely want to try and address his back leg collapse to begin. And what I'll probably end up doing, my apologies. What I think I'm going to end up doing, if I have him again, would be to have him start with that back leg more or less already bent. So when he's in his stationary stretch position, we'll have him have a little bit of a bend there. And then we are going to see if we can keep that leg in that same position. I'd like to get him to take the glove hand, and instead of swinging it sorry about that. Instead of having it swing out here and then back toward his catcher, we're going to try and get it so that he goes in a straight line toward that target. Of course, the position of his body weight is another area we can try and generate a little more velocity by having him shift his weight back a little bit over his back leg and knee, so that we have more weight going forward. And we're going to make an effort to try and take his glove hand. There we go. His glove hand we're going to want to bring into his hip on the throw. So at this point here, we're going to want his glove to start tucking itself back to the hip, so that it's going to help lean his trunk forward, and then he'll put his glove in a better position in case he needs to defend himself. And that's that.